Bold monster, suffer death quickly. Monster. Are you calling me? Ebi twisted his dragon body and turned to look at the merit golden wool behind him, praying to all the people. Chapter 1. Two Boundaries. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Gudong Dong in the bottomless pool of water. A huge turtle and a snake about 6 or 7 zhang long, with a body the size of a bucket, stand opposite each other. These two are not like the existence of ordinary animals, both making sounds as if communicating. If there is something that can be understood, one can know that the turtle is teaching the big snake. In today's world, humanity is thriving, and our demons are all suppressed. There were originally many ways for us to cultivate, but humanity has cut them off one by one. Now, if our demons want to become the climate, they can only eat people. The old turtle patiently taught. The big snake Ebi listened with great interest. Eating people sounds simple, but in this era of human prosperity, eating people is not such an easy thing. Once it harms people, how can humans let it go? One move is careless, and everyone loses. So the mountain lord who has become the climate, even if he has all kinds of abilities, only dares to hide in the deep mountains and forests, using ghosts to lure people into the forest. Even if he has a Taoist spirit, he only dares to transform countless, replenish his essence, and dare not harm people's lives. But these are all things that talented monsters dare to do. You, Wan Hui, although you are a dragon seed, your cultivation is still shallow, and you must never have a harmful heart. The old turtle spoke with great care, afraid that Ebo might have some inappropriate thoughts. I know. I'll go to the side and have some small fish and shrimp first. Ebi manipulated the snake's body, like an arrow leaving a string, and left here. He shuttled around at the bottom of the pond. Quickly, he found a boulder covered in algae and climbed up. Ebi lifted his cobra head, his erect pupils gazing at the sky, and he fell into memories. He is not a living being in this world. It seems that he is also a traveler. He was originally a human in his past life, but a month ago, due to an accident, he crossed into this world and became a king cobra. Wang Hui means, big snake. When he first crossed over, he was also quite excited. After all, according to legend, a cobra can become a dragon after 500 years of cultivation, and a dragon after 1,000 years of cultivation. How could he not be excited to become a dragon in mythology? But when he learned about this world, he became confused. In this world, as the old turtle said, humanity thrives, and monsters are like rats crossing the street. Everyone yells and fights, making cultivation very difficult. After searching for many ways, he finally found the only way to give him a chance to become a dragon. That's eating people. In the human body, there seems to be some mysterious power hidden, which can greatly increase the cultivation of monsters. Eating people. I am already human, so how could I possibly eat people? So, a month ago, I almost fell into a dead end, but for me now, it seems that it is not a dead end. Ebi couldn't help but lose his mind when he recalled what happened a month ago. However, it has been proven that rabbits can even bite people when forced to do so. Dogs can jump over walls even when they are forced to do so. The snake was forced to hurry. He travels directly back. Without any warning, Ebi's entire body disappeared into place. The next moment, Ebi appeared in a forest of mountains. Ebi perched on the body of the snake, scanned the surroundings, and after confirming that there was no danger around, he felt relieved. This is the world he has traveled through. Regarding his ability to travel twice, we have to start talking about it half a month ago. Half a month ago, he felt sad because he had fallen into a dead end, so he rashly left the deep pool where he lived. And then he met an old bald donkey, and Ebi couldn't forget the feeling of his body being uncontrollable with a gentle move from the bowl in his hand. That was the first time in his 2 lifetimes that he understood the phrase, I am the fish and meat for the sake of the sword. But just as the old bald donkey was about to attack him, he unexpectedly discovered that he had golden fingers. His golden fingers allowed him to travel to another world, commonly known as Air Chuan. His golden fingers have no signs or signs, as long as his mind moves, he can travel through them. At that time, the situation was in crisis, and he dared not stay, so he crossed over directly. When he first arrived in this world, he still knew nothing, but after half a month of understanding, he learned about this world. This world is a very strange world. It is said that this world used to be a very normal urban world, but I don't know when a red moon will descend. Most of the humans in this world have become a kind of monster. These monsters mimic human behavior during the day, but at night, they will reveal themselves and search for surviving humans to hunt in various places. Bai called this world the Red Moon. This world happens to be the point to unlock my dead end. Bai has a clear idea in his heart. In the realm of cultivation, humanity thrives and eliminates the path of cultivation for monsters. If one wants to cultivate, they can only take the risk of cannibalism. The risk of cannibalism is too high. But what about this world? Those monsters are just like humans. Bai has probably understood that the reason why monsters eat people can enhance cultivation is because human blood and essence have a great effect on monsters. And those monsters in this world also have blood and essence, even stronger than normal humans. That is to say, he can cultivate by eating these monsters and transforming into dragons. I didn't figure it out before, but now that I've figured everything out, I can start hunting monsters. I want to see how much cultivation can be enhanced by eating a monster. Bai's erect pupils flickered with cold light, and a hint of danger filled the air. He quickly twisted his cobra and fixed his gaze in one direction. In that direction, there is an old human city that is now occupied by monsters. This city is called Golden Market. There are many monsters among them that make him feel dangerous. But those were all high-level monsters, and as far as he knew, there were also levels among the monsters, with the highest 5th level and the lowest 1st level. In this gold market, many advanced monsters can make him feel shivering. But he is not very afraid of the low-level monsters in some small villages on the edge of the golden market. So his preferred target is the villages on the edge of the gold market. Bai twisted his body and quickly headed towards the direction of the gold market. In no time, Bai had already arrived at the edge of the gold market, and his cobra body ran over the dirt road, leaving a line of marks that were neither deep nor shallow. He lifted the snake's head and saw, on the edge, faint traces of some villages could be seen. According to Bai's observation, this golden city is not a wealthy city. Apart from the city center, many places are in the shape of villages. The first target he wants to hunt. Select from the village. When it comes to low-level monsters, that is, first-level monsters, there are more of them in this small village. That's it here. Bai chose the nearest village and came to a small stream near it, trying his best to hide his body. Those cold pupils stared fixedly in front of him. As he gazed, there was a faint sound of conversation ringing in the village ahead. According to Bai's observation, these monsters mimic human behavior during the day. There are many children in this village, and there is no one in the village who doesn't like to play in the creek. Bai is here to wait for the arrival of prey and wait for the arrival of the rabbit. Chapter 2. Respectful Titles. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the trickling stream beside the village, the water is emerald green, seemingly calm on the surface, but in reality, it is turbulent inside. As the saying goes, clear water makes shallow, green water makes deep, and black water makes deep. Deep in the emerald stream, there are hidden murders. At this moment, Bai hid his entire body at the bottom of the water. His scales were already green, and with the help of the emerald green underwater, he perfectly concealed himself. He is like a natural hunter, waiting for the arrival of prey. We're coming. Bai could smell two abnormally bloody smells near the creek. He lifted his gaze and looked through the water towards the shore of the stream. Under his gaze, 2 ragged children walked towards him. This is definitely not a person. Bai couldn't help but shout in his heart. In his sight, these 2 children were like beasts dressed in human skin, with a bloody smell that he could smell across the stream. Moreover, the most important thing is that these 2 children do not have the spiritual energy of all things like humans. How to say it? Simply put, it means 2 dead people walking. Bai was surprised in his heart, but his body remained motionless, allowing the stream to wash away without moving. His eyes were cold as he looked at one of the children. He is waiting for an opportunity. A chance to die in one blow. The innate instinct within his body enables him to hunt perfectly. On the bank of the creek, 2 children stood with a pair of dead fish eyes and strange smiles on their faces, holding hands and walking to the creek. One of the children seemed to follow their instincts and was about to walk into the stream. But just as the child was about to enter the stream, he suddenly froze and stared at the stream with his dead fish's eyes fixed on it. Bang! A huge snake head suddenly rushed out of the stream and splashed with water. The child didn't even react and was bitten and dragged into the bottom of the stream. The other child was completely stunned in place. Bai at the bottom of the stream used his enormous biting force to crush all the children and monsters in his mouth, and then swallowed them into his stomach. Not waiting for him to feel it carefully. He felt a lot of bloody smell rushing towards the creek. Are these monsters belonging to dogs? My nose is so sharp. Bai is not at all panicked. He moved in his heart, his figure flashed, and disappeared into place. The cultivation world. In the deep pool. Bai has returned here again. This monster. Bai could clearly feel a hot sensation surging in his abdomen. He knows that he is digesting it. At the end of the day, he is in the realm of cultivation, but he has not yet practiced, and even now he is just an ordinary snake. Just because he traveled through time, he added some intelligence to this big snake. So his digestion is also similar to that of ordinary snakes. Bai controlled the belly of the cobra, rubbing against the incomplete area at the bottom of the pond, trying to speed up digestion. As he moved, he could clearly feel that the dryness and heat in his abdomen were even more intense. This hot and dry heat was like a lump of energy, running through his body and finally reaching his cobra head. Bai only felt his head buzzing for a moment, lost in thought, but soon he recovered. After recovering, he could clearly feel his changes. His head seemed to have cleared a bit, and this feeling was very mysterious, as if he had suddenly enlightened. Eating monsters doesn't seem to make me stronger. No, I should have become stronger. An indescribable feeling from Bai. But he just felt it. He has become stronger. As far as Bai knows, the first step for monsters to cultivate is to open their spirits, which is easy to understand and involves opening up simple spiritual intelligence. The second step is to become refined. At present, he should be moving towards becoming a master. It seems that he has taken the right path, as long as he continues. Can I count it as having a long brain? Bai felt his changes. But before he could feel the change in himself, a fish shadow suddenly darted past him, like an arrow departing from the string. He only felt a momentary daze before his eyes, but he hadn't even realized it yet. No, why are you running so fast? Bai didn't know why, so he muttered, but his movements were not slow, and he ran along with the fish shadow ahead. His speed is even faster than that fish shadow. He didn't know why he had to run, but as he watched the fish run, he instinctively followed suit. No, what are you doing with me, Wang Hui? The fish figure couldn't help but stop when Bai caught up, spitting bubbles in his mouth and staring at the latter with a pair of dead fish eyes. This is a giant carp with a body length of over 6 meters. I don't know, then why are you running? Bai also remembered it, and he stared at the carp in front of him, not unfamiliar. He is basically familiar with the intelligent creatures in the lake. This carp can be considered his neighbor. The mountain lord in the neighboring mountain sent someone to bless us. Can this not pass quickly? You, a dragon seed, haven't even achieved success. Why are you so lazy? You don't even know such a big deal. The carp waved its fins and rolled its eyes, but no matter how it flipped, it was the pair of dead fish eyes. Is there such a good thing? Then take me along. Upon hearing this, Ebi immediately understood why the carp was so anxious. The neighboring mountain lord knows that there is a high mountain next to the deep pool, and deep in the mountain lord is among them. The mountain lord is like a tiger. Tiger, the king of mountain beasts, hence the name mountain lord. He often hears the name of this mountain lord. It is said that this mountain lord is a great demon with successful cultivation. In the depths of the neighboring mountain, he often uses a ghost to lure passers-by into the forest, and then eats it to increase his own cultivation. It can be said that this mountain lord is the most powerful demon that Ebi has ever heard of. If it weren't for you and me struggling to be of the same race, I wouldn't have told you. The carp quickly flapped its fins and swam forward. You little dragon, lead the way quickly. Ebi also twisted his body and followed the carp, swimming. What little dragon is shouting is this carp? The goal and dream of every carp's cultivation is to transform into a dragon. Legend has it that a carp leaps over the gate of the dragon, so calling a carp a little dragon is considered a way to win a good fortune. The relationship between demons is not as straightforward as that between humans, calling out to animals their true selves, which only harms each other. The cultivation of demons is already difficult, seeking a good lead can make their cultivation more efficient. So between demons, they will all respectfully refer to each other. For example, other organisms refer to Ebi as Wang Hui, or dragon seed, instead of directly calling him a snake. Calling a tiger is called mountain lord. Calling carp means little dragon. To call a weasel a yellow fairy. There are many rules among them. In short, between demons, they do not reveal each other's true selves when they meet. In that case, it can also be considered as destroying each other's cultivation. The bad guys never stop practicing, let alone the already difficult demons. Chapter 3. Ghosts. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Under the night, the shore of the deep pool is shaded by green trees, and a slightly chilly wind blows past, causing waves on the water surface. At this moment, a strange scene is happening on the shore, with fish and shrimp sticking their heads out and staring straight at the top. If someone passes by at this moment, they may be scared and lose their 7 souls. And a little deeper into the deep pool, behind a pile of fish and shrimp, a king cobra was also among them. But this Wang Hui was extremely cautious, only protruding 2 small eyes from the water. This Wang Hui is exactly Ebi. That guy is the ghost of the mountain lord. He came to bless. So what about blessings? Ebi's erect eyes stared straight at the shore. A slightly blurry figure stood there, with a pale face and lifeless eyes. If it is an ordinary person, perhaps there is no abnormality, but one may feel that their face is somewhat pathological. But in Ebi's eyes, there was a nauseating stillness emanating from this person, which had nothing to do with a normal person. It's already past midnight, and there hasn't been much movement yet. This ghost has to wait for the arrival of all the creatures in the deep pool, shouldn't it be enough? Ebi has become a bit impatient. If this ghost still doesn't speak, then he will run away. Under Ebi's impatient wait. Finally, the shore ghost seemed to feel that these creatures were enough, and their lifeless eyes lifted to look at the schools of fish and shrimp. The mountain lord feels that his cultivation is complete. In 3 days, he will preach in the mountains. You can all go and listen, or you may become a master soon. I hope you will not disappoint the mountain lord's kindness. The mountain lord has a sense of himself. The ghost mechanically repeated it 3 times. After saying it 3 times, it turned into a wisp of white smoke and mysteriously headed towards the mountains. After the ghost left, the fish and shrimp in place immediately boiled up, and those who didn't know thought the bottom of the pond had been boiled. Fish and shrimp all started discussing excitedly. Bo did not participate in these discussions about fish and shrimp. He looked at the direction of the ghost's departure, feeling an indescribable strangeness in his heart. What kind of thing? Tiger preaching. Are you not joking? If you talk about the preaching of a virtuous monk or a virtuous person, then it's not a big deal. Why do tigers join in the fun? Bai muttered to himself. Thinking of a tiger sitting in a futon with a group of fish and shrimp below, he felt discordant and abstract. Bo thought for a long time, but still didn't say anything. The tiger preached, so just go and take a look. He thought, the cobra body diving into the water and heading towards the bottom of the pond. He hadn't swam far before he saw his old acquaintance. Old Turtle. Bo saw an acquaintance and originally wanted to go over and say hello. But he found that the old turtle was sneaking around, like a thief. He immediately swam up. Prophet, what are you secretly doing? Bai spoke rashly. The Prophet Lord is also known as the turtle, a synonym. The old turtle seemed to be thinking about something, completely unaware of Bai's arrival. With the latter's sudden shout, his soul was scared away, and he instinctively withdrew his body back into the turtle shell. After calming down for a moment, I saw that it was Bai, and then I reconnected. You, Wang Hui, don't you hear demons scare demons and scare them to death? The old turtle was frightened and became angry with embarrassment. No, it's obvious that you're thinking about something. Otherwise, how could you be scared by me? Why, Prophet, are you thinking about what the Mountain Lord is preaching, and you're so lost in thought? Bai joked and said. You Wang Hui, even though you haven't become an expert, why is your intelligence so high? It's quite peculiar. The old turtle looked up and down at Bai, his head shaking. Immediately, the old turtle seemed to have thought of something and scanned the surroundings, confirming that there were no other creatures, before continuing to talk to Bai. Wang Hui, please listen to me. You must not go to the Mountain Lord's preaching. As far as I know, the Mountain Lord's cultivation is gradually improving, but he is still unable to take the next step. It seems that there are not enough people to eat. It may be unclear whether he wants to preach at this critical moment. You should cherish all his words. After the old turtle finished speaking, his limbs turned into propellers, and in a flash, the entire turtle disappeared. On the spot, Bai couldn't help but fall into contemplation after listening to what the old turtle said. Is that tiger really malicious? Practice is gradually becoming full, but one cannot take the next step because there are not enough people eating. What else can we do if we call this group of creatures over at this time? Isn't it just eating these creatures that have developed some spiritual intelligence and using their numbers to gather and help this tiger cultivate? This tiger is not really for fun. Monsters do not deceive monsters. This tiger is specifically designed to catch its own people and deceive them. Bai became angry. Fortunately, he was informed in advance by this old turtle. Otherwise, if he foolishly goes over to listen and is eaten by someone in one bite, it will really be unjust. This incident also sounded an alarm for Bai. He can indeed use his ability to travel back and forth between two realms to avoid the crisis of death. But sometimes, if he relaxes, he may not be able to use this ability until he dies. In this world, he needs to be careful not only to deal with humans, but also monsters. This tiger is not for fun, and being so close to me cannot be ignored. I still have to eat people. Only by eating enough people can I not be afraid of this tiger. Bai deeply felt the danger in this cultivation world. Even if he stays in this deep pool, he will still face danger. This incident with the Mountain Lord is not the best example. So, he still needs to eat more people. We still need to go to the Red Moon World more often. Red Moon World. In the stream. Ebi reappeared at the bottom of the stream. He looked up at the sky, and through the water, he could see the moon hanging high in the sky. This moon is red. How strange it looks. The time flow of the Red Moon World is the same as that of the Immortal Cultivation Realm. The Immortal Cultivation Realm is dark at night, and the Red Moon World is naturally the same. Ebi slowly twisted his body and left the stream. The world of the Red Moon in the dark is the most dangerous. But the world of the Red Moon in the dark is also the most obvious loophole. The Red Moon World is in the darkness, and all monsters will riot, searching for surviving humans and hunting them. But similarly, some young monsters do not go out, but stay at home, as if following their instincts during their lifetime. So, if he dares to take risks, he can sneak into some villages and eat these young monsters. He used to think there was no need to take this risk, but now with such a big tiger mouth on his face, he felt that he should go bully this monster, old and young. Chapter 4. Chi. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Red Moon World. In a village on the edge of the Golden Market. The sound of hurried footsteps echoed incessantly. If you can listen carefully, you can find that this is not the sound made by walking on 2 feet, but rather the sound made by a wild beast running on all 4 limbs. On the muddy path illuminated by the red moon, emitting a strange red light, 3 or 4 human cubs hurriedly fled. These 3 or 4 human cubs landed on all 4s, running like wild beasts, but their expressions and movements were filled with panic. Wow! The sound of leaves being blown by the wind sounded. Just. There is no wind today. The green shadow flashed through the woods by the path. The next moment, a huge green snake darted out from the middle of the path. The bloodthirsty mouth of the green snake devoured the 3 or 4 human cubs, or rather, the monster cubs. The 4 monster cubs suddenly made strange cries, like crows howling. One of them opened his mouth and spat out several octopus whiskers, with densely packed pointed teeth that were terrifying. No matter how terrifying it is, in front of a huge mouth that could swallow the entire body of this monster cub, it appears to be a show of skill. Click! The green snake easily swallowed the monster cub that was trying to resist, and in almost no time, it was chewed and swallowed by him. But these few seconds are enough time for the remaining 3 monster cubs to escape. Shi Daredeng looked towards the direction where the 3 monster cubs were fleeing, but did not pursue them. I have already swallowed 5 monster cubs, and every time I swallow one, it requires a lot of my physical strength to digest, which will seriously affect my speed. Forget it, after digesting it, it's not too late to come back again next time, and... Ebi thought for a moment, but his thoughts stopped and he looked towards the sky with a white fish belly exposed. He knew it was about to light up. Those adult monsters are coming back. Wang Hui did not stand under the dangerous wall. It's time to go. Ebo wants to leave. He was about to leave, but suddenly, he seemed to have noticed something. He looked up into the distance. In this direction, he seems to smell something. This smell doesn't seem like a monster. Instead, it seems like humans. Are they survivors? Interesting. Ebo has no intention of dealing with survivors of this world, at least temporarily. Without hesitation, he chose to leave when he learned that survivors were about to arrive. With a flash of light, the massive body of the snake disappeared into place. After he left, several figures hurriedly arrived here. Let's go, I've stepped on it a long time ago. In the village ahead, those formed monsters will go out hunting at night, leaving only small monsters behind. We can completely kill these small monsters and take away the mysterious substances inside their bodies. Hurry up, it's getting light. A few people were walking when suddenly they saw the messy battle marks on the muddy path. What caught their attention was the 3-part buried walking outline on the road. What animal marks are these? Python. At the moment the red moon falls, all animals have already died. How could there still be pythons? Can it be a monster changing? How could there be monsters of this level near this small village? So, could it be a monster? As soon as this sentence is spoken, everyone looked at the speaker with eyes that looked like they were looking at a mentally disabled person. I'm just joking, isn't that right? The person gave a casual smile. Bai, who has returned to the cultivation world, is unaware of these things. The cultivation world. Bai returned to the bottom of the deep pool. He rubbed his smooth belly against the ground again, accelerating the digestion of the food in his stomach. As he did last time, his actions caused waves of anger to burst out of his abdomen. These dry flames turned into clusters of dry chi, jumping up and down in his body. But at least this time, Bai was a bit confident. He tried to control the mass of energy and came to his head. Under his stumbling control, this bunch of energy was really transported by him to the head of the cobra. When this mass of energy reached the head of the cobra, there was a sudden vibration, and a clear and bright spirit appeared on the spiritual platform. Bai couldn't help but want to moan. Bang! A crisp sound rang in his ear. Bai lifted his head again and looked at the world. I feel like the world has changed. It seems like nothing has changed. Wang Hui, have you become a sperm? A cry of surprise sounded from the side. Bai turned his head to look. Next to it, isn't it the prophet Lord Lao Gui? Prophet, what did you say about becoming a fairy? Bai Xuan asked. In your situation, you have become a sperm. Wang Hui, have you eaten people? The old turtle exclaimed in surprise. I didn't eat people. Bai decisively denied it. He didn't eat people, he ate monsters. Strange, you don't have any evil energy on you. Indeed, you didn't eat people, but you didn't eat people. How could you go thousands of miles in a day and become refined in one step? The old turtle scratched its head and couldn't figure out what was going on. Nye Chi, what is Nye Chi? Bai was puzzled and puzzled. He became a monster for the first time and had only a partial understanding of these things. Chi. Do you see anything on me? The old turtle patiently explained to it. Upon hearing these words, Bai lifted his head and looked at the old turtle. There's nothing different about this. Not right. This old turtle, there seems to be a slight difference on my body. Bai's erect pupils suddenly shrank, and he seemed to see wisps of black smoke drifting on the old turtle's body. He looked at his own body again, and there were also wisps of black smoke spreading throughout his body. The only difference is that the black smoke on his body is lighter, while the old turtle's is thicker. You're a dragon seed, can you tell? This is a demonic aura. If you haven't eaten a person's demonic aura, it's as flawless as black smoke. But if you've eaten a person's aura, it's a mix of black and red, and the red mixed in it is a wicked aura. If you want to have a demonic aura, at least you need to become a spirit. If you can see the demonic aura and have it on your body, then you have become a spirit. The old turtle answered Bai's confusion. Bai listened with relish. Demonic and evil aura. Becoming refined can reveal one's breath. The cultivation of monsters requires the first step of spiritual enlightenment and the second step of becoming refined. He has successfully taken the second step. However, Bai still has a doubt. Monsters have their own charm, but do people also have their own popularity? He told the old turtle about his confusion. That's nature. Monsters have their own charm, and of course, people also have their own popularity. In today's world, humanity is thriving, so the weather is above, the earth is below, and the popularity is in the middle. We monsters are difficult. The old turtle began to tirelessly talk about how difficult it is to be a monster. Bai automatically omitted the old turtle's roast, and he was very curious about these evil people. Monsters have a demonic aura, and people have a human aura. What kind of aura does that monster have? Chapter 5. Shi Daredeng. You are listening at novelfull.audio. One day later. At the bottom of the deep pool, the undercurrent surges, and the depth does not see the bottom. Bai was perched on a giant algal rock, his body hibernating, and he was pondering what the old turtle had told him earlier. He is already aware of various chi. But for the cultivation steps of demons, I still have a partial understanding. However, he doesn't know, but the old turtle knows. The old turtle told him. To cultivate monsters, the first step is to activate spirits, the second step is to become essence, the third step is to use demon pills, and the fourth step is to transform into form. At the third step, it can be said that it has become the climate. It is said that the mountain lord is between the third and fourth steps. Speaking of which, the tiger wanted to transform, so it let the ghosts come over and deceive us, intending to eat us and help them practice. Bai twisted his cobra head and scanned the surroundings. There are few living creatures in the current pond. Those wise fish, shrimp, and aquatic creatures of the past have all gone to the mountains. I'm afraid it will be difficult to come back once we go. In the future, I will have the final say in this pool. No, there is an old turtle, but it's all right. The old turtle and I have a good relationship. Bai couldn't help but relax a lot. But he knew that the biggest trouble was still the tiger in the mountains. If this tiger eats those fish, shrimp, and other monsters, it won't be able to take the next step. It's afraid it might be staring at other monsters down the mountain. And in his deep pool, he and the old turtle are likely to be targeted. Bai pondered how to quickly have the power to protect himself. Eating monsters can make his path of cultivation worry-free, without worrying about how to cultivate like other monsters. But he has not yet reached the level of transcendence. He ate the monster, but it took time to digest it. It's too difficult to grow to the level of not being afraid of that tiger in a short period of time. Dong! Suddenly, Bai felt as if his entire head had been hit hard by a sledgehammer, feeling dizzy. He couldn't control himself and lay at the bottom of the pool, spinning around. Gudong, the undercurrent at the bottom of the pond seemed to be forcefully disrupted by some unknown force, with bursts of bubbles and rolling incessantly. I don't know how long it has been. Bai finally felt a lot more relieved. He lifted his cobra head and felt that his surroundings were still in a daze. What the hell is going on here? Bai suppressed his discomfort and looked around. Quickly, he discovered something wrong. On the other side of the water, there seemed to be a golden aura permeating the air. These golden auras were hot and sacred, making him feel uncomfortable at a glance. Bai can be certain that this is the source of his mind's discomfort. What is that thing? Bai's body swam in the water, and he cautiously approached the surface of the water. As he approached the surface of the deep pool, Bai could already see the situation on the shore clearly. On the shore of the deep pool, two humans wearing flying fish suits were standing there. Bai could clearly see the faint white gas emanating from their bodies. This should be the popularity. However, there was a hint of gold hidden deep in the white air of these two people. This makes Bai very puzzled. The red aura hidden in the black aura is the evil aura carried by monsters who eat people. What is the golden aura hidden in the popularity? After a moment of contemplation, Bai made some guesses. Judging from their attire, it seems that officials from the world court in this area are likely due to their golden aura, which hinders the success of the court's national fortune. However, what made him uncomfortable all over was not with these two officials. Bai quickly fixed his gaze on the rectangular shallow relief at the feet of the two officials. He looked over and felt very dazzling, his soul feeling fearful. The shallow relief was shining with gold, like a brilliant sun. At first glance, Bai understood everything. The shallow relief only has 3 characters, but these 3 characters are as heavy as 10,000 pounds. Shi dares to do it. Mount Taishan stone is worthy. For this item, Yi Bo is not unfamiliar. In the past, every household had something in front of their door, and many roads also had this thing beside them. The old man said that standing a stone can be used to ward off evil spirits, bless and eliminate disasters. Yi Bo used to be a mythological enthusiast, and he was no stranger to Shi Daredeng. According to legend, when Nuwa was repairing the sky, there was a remaining stone for repairing the sky. Nuwa selected the spirit of the protector Vajra and integrated it into it. The main stone falls on the top of Mount Taishan mountain, and the rest falls on the pond below the mountain, which is called Shigandang. It is said that Shi dare to feel the demonic energy and move around. Anyone who has a demon approaching will be eliminated with the power of Vajra. There is a saying, "I dare to be a stone, restrain 100 ghosts, and despise disasters and misfortunes." The officials are blessed, the people are healthy. The wind and education are prosperous, and the etiquette and music are open. The role of Shi Daredeng can be glimpsed. Yi Bo finally understood why he felt uncomfortable all over. This stone dares to stand on the shore, he doesn't feel uncomfortable who feels uncomfortable. It's like lying on an empty ground with someone holding a big stone against your chest, making you gasp for breath. I never expected that one day, I would be suppressed by Shi Dare. Yi Bo's heart was filled with bitterness. Unfortunately, he didn't dare to do anything. He still had to try to hide himself well. He couldn't guarantee that he was fine now, but he jumped out and whether he would be crushed to death by Shi Daredeng. Yi Bo hid in a deep pool. The two people on the shore did not notice that a large snake was peeping at them. These two people's eyes flickered, nervously staring at the rugged road leading to the mountain in front of the deep pool. And on this mountain, there is a mountain lord who has become the climate. We have already made Shi Dare stand up, Lao Zhang. Why don't we just withdraw? Here. Gudong, I'm a bit scared. What are you afraid of? It's clear sky and clear sun, and all kinds of monsters need to be hidden away. Our task is to set up a stone to stand firm, but we also need to ensure that the stone stands firm. But I always have a feeling of being peeped at. I don't care how you feel, we must set up this stone. All the roads below the mountain are set up with stones to prevent the mountain lord from escaping. If there is a mistake on our side, we will all be finished by then. The two whispered to each other. These words were transmitted word for word to Yi Bo. I see. This is a game against the mountain lord. Have humans realized that the mountain lord wants to transform? But this stone dares to stand by the pond. The mountain lord didn't press it down to the point where I'm not sure, but it crushed me to death. Yi Bo thought bitterly. He stared at the stone for a long time without daring to move. In the end, he could only choose to retreat into the pool. For this stone, it dares to be a shameless disaster. Yi Bo has no way at all. At this moment, he deeply realized how real the old turtle's words hanging from his mouth, difficulty in cultivating monsters, were. Chapter 6. Survivor Team. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Red Moon World. On the edge of the gold market, muddy paths. The big snake Yi Bo appears here out of thin air. He opened his mouth wide and was panting uncontrollably. Who understands? The feeling of being constantly pressed down by a big mountain. He can hold on for a while. But over time, no one can bear it. After realizing that he couldn't destroy Shi Daredeng, Bo decisively chose to run to the Red Moon World. When he appeared in the world of the Red Moon, he felt a sense of relief. Shi dares to. A stone dares to crush me like this, the cultivation world is too dangerous. Yi Bo couldn't imagine how deep the water in the cultivation world was. People want to kill monsters, and monsters also want to kill monsters. On how to be a good monster, it's better to wander around the world of the Red Moon first. Going back to that deep pool is too suffocating. Ibai felt a deep sense of helplessness. He lifted his cobra head and looked around. The place he is currently located is on the previous path. He is still located near a small village on the edge of the Golden Market in the Red Moon world. Let's take a look around this village first. I have become an expert now, and my strength should not be afraid of monsters of level 1 or even level 2. This small village should be no wonder it hurts me. Ibai swaggered towards the village of yesterday. He doesn't want to be cautious anymore. In the realm of cultivation, I am already suffocated and unable to lift my head under the pressure of a stone. Let him still be submissive in this small village of the Red Moon world. This is impossible. He's going to hit hard today. Well, limited to this small village. After leaving this village, I couldn't believe that the words came from his mouth. On the path to the village, Bai quickly shuttled by, silently like a killer in the dark. His erect pupils, shining with cold light, seemed to announce that the visitor was a hunter at the top of the food chain. Soon, he arrived near the village. Just after arriving near the village, he saw a slightly eerie scene. Near the village entrance, 3 corpses lay in a tangled pattern. These corpses are all children's, and they have all been opened and pierced, with extremely tragic deaths. A very coincidental thing. Ibai knows these 3 corpses. These 3 corpses, aren't they the 3 children I let go last night? Ibai felt a bit depressed. He also thoughtfully gave these running monster children nice names, a Nyo, a Go, and a Ma. His original intention was to eat these monster kids again in a few days. I didn't expect to die like this. Bang bang bang, an unusual frequency was transmitted from the ground to Ibai air. Is there a sound of fighting ahead? A subtle light flashed through Ibai's pupils. He remembers that these monsters would mimic human behavior during the day and only go hunting for surviving humans at night. It's daytime now. How could there be fighting sounds in the village? Unless someone disturbs these monsters. Ibai twisted his body like an arrow, rushing towards the village ahead, and the scenery on both sides quickly retreated. At the end of the village, several humans are fighting fiercely against dozens of monsters. These monsters either spit out octopus whiskers in their mouths, grow bat wings behind their backs, or have wild animal limbs on their bodies, emitting bloodthirsty cries and charging towards these few humans. These few humans have all employed very unscientific methods. Spit fire and water, with infinite force. These supernatural means have all been employed. Even though these few humans are special, they cannot escape being surrounded by dozens of monsters. It's only a matter of time before being completely surrounded. No, we can't go on like this. Among several humans, a burly man cast a sinister glance at a companion beside him. At the next moment, the burly man waved his big knife and chopped towards his companion beside him. Suddenly, the companion let out a painful cry, blood raging, and his body collapsed straight down. The smell of blood permeated the field. In an instant, the gaze of dozens of monsters fell on the person in unison. In just a moment, dozens of monsters rushed towards the person, using various means to dismember the various organs on the person's body. That person's body was not a fatal injury at all, but was surrounded by dozens of monsters and unable to resist. He could only watch himself being dismembered and eaten alive. The head finally fell to the ground, its wide eyes filled with disbelief. A terrifying scene occurred on the village trail. The surviving few people looked incredulously at the big man who had just swung his knife at his companion. This big man is the captain of their team. The captain waved a knife at his team members. Hurry up, we need to live, there will always be someone to sacrifice, don't waste time. The captain's tone was unusually cold and sinister. After speaking, he turned around and ran without hesitation. The remaining few people looked at each other, but in the end, they followed the captain. Where can one person eat enough for dozens of monsters? Just in the blink of an eye, dozens of monsters caught up with this human survivor team again. The captain turned his head and glanced at his team members, waving his big knife again. But what he was chopping towards was not a monster, but his own team member. The big knife in the captain's hand flickered with a cold light. A fat team member's knee was scratched with blood, which caused the fat man to fall to the ground. Fatty guy. In the team, two of them exclaimed in surprise when they saw the fat man fall to the ground. Immediately, the two gritted their teeth and stopped, protecting the fat man in front of him. The captain didn't pay any attention to this scene, sneered, and continued to run away at full speed. Soon, only this chubby guy and the two players around him were left on the field. Chen Chu, Wang Yu, hurry up and run. I can't leave anymore. My leg was cut off by that bastard. The fat man shouted in pain. But anyone can tell that the desire for survival in their eyes is very strong. No, we need to walk together. We're not the captain's bastard. We won't betray our teammates. Let's take you away. The two companions around them shook their heads decisively, their bodies trembling, but they still gathered weapons in their hands and faced the attacks of dozens of monsters. Just as dozens of monsters were about to attack, a huge green snake suddenly rushed into the field. At the moment when the giant snake appears, the field quieted down. Both the monsters and the three humans unconsciously froze. The dozens of monsters froze because they felt a strong sense of threat from the green snake Yi-Bai. As they were just beginning to develop their intelligence, they were somewhat wary of Yi-Bai. And the reason why those three people were dull was completely intimidated by Yi-Bai's huge snake body, which was 6 or 7 zhang long. The first time they saw Yi-Bai, two words came to mind coincidentally. Monsters. Chapter 7. Do you look at me as a man or a snake? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Murakami Trail. Yi-Bai looked at the frozen field and couldn't help but freeze for a moment. He rushed over in a hurry, but didn't notice that these monsters were actually rushing back. He twisted the snake's head and simply scanned it. When I saw those three humans, especially one with a noticeable knife wound on his knee and those monsters, I felt lost in thought. Do these monsters still use knives? Yi-Bai is a bit confused. But he turned his head to look at the dense green scales on his body. It may be difficult for swords to break through his defenses. He has at least become a fairy now, and can truly be called a monster. At least it's a monster, I'm afraid the sword can handle it. Roar, roar. Yi-Bai is still thinking. The fear in the eyes of those dozens of monsters has been drowned out by the bloodthirsty light, each resembling an unconscious beast, crazily attacking Yi-Bai. They all smelled the vigorous qi and blood on Yi-Bai, which were dozens of times stronger than humans. For them, this is simply a fatal temptation. Yi-Bai didn't have time to think too much. He glanced roughly at the dozens of monsters. In his eyes, the dozens of monsters were emitting a faint gray mist. This is not considered popular or demonic, it is something he has never seen before. But no matter what kind of anger it is, he has already made a judgment that these monsters are all the lowest level first-level monsters. Perhaps he, who has not yet stepped into the realm of becoming a refined, has to retreat in the face of so many monster attacks. But now he doesn't need to choose to retreat, just act recklessly. Yi-Bai's entire body was completely coiled up, the snake's head slightly raised, and its erect pupils stared coldly at the dozens of monsters rushing towards him. When these monsters are 30 meters away from him, Yi-Bai launched and charged fiercely towards the monsters. Boom! With a loud bang, several monsters in the front row flew backwards. The snake's attack is nothing more than a sudden attack, either through venom or entanglement and ingestion. But Yi-Bai's snake body is too big. He is so big that he only needs to accelerate and charge forward, relying on his huge snake body to be able to charge forward and backward. Yi-Bai acted recklessly in the monster group. These dozens of monsters have nothing to do with Yi-Bai. All their attacks, hitting Ibai, only made a clanging sound and could not break through the defense. In situations where defense cannot be broken, Ibai is invincible. It took more than half an hour. Ibai successfully hunted down these dozens of monsters. Although he has become refined, he has not yet reached an extraordinary level. His most powerful attack method is to sweep it with his tail or directly bite it with his fangs. In this situation, he can only use time to deal with dozens of monsters. If he had extraordinary skills, why would he need such a long time? The first level monster is not my opponent, and the second level monster should not be my opponent either. There's no need to think about the third level monster. Ibai also has a preliminary judgment on his own strength. His cold pupils swept through the chaos on the field, and then he began to devour the monster corpses lying on the ground. A piece of 2-3 Ibai swallowed all 7 monster corpses before feeling a sense of fullness. He turned his head to look at his abdomen, where a large lump had swollen. At the same time, he noticed something that had increased his appetite. It seems that after becoming refined, he has made progress in all aspects. In the past, he could only swallow up to 5 monsters, and it was still the kind of child. But now he can swallow 7 monsters, still the kind of adult monster. After feeling full, Ibai wanted to find a place to rest and digest the food in his abdomen. He felt a strong sense of fatigue when he was full. He had no doubt that at this moment, his combat power must have greatly diminished. Ibai is ready to leave. He just started moving. Suddenly remembered something and turned to look at those 3 humans. Originally, those 3 people wanted to pretend to be dead. But now suddenly being watched, my hair explodes in an instant. Being watched by a big snake, a feeling of death hits my face. Ibai looked at the 3 people who were afraid, and a wicked interest arose naturally. Young girl, do you think I look like a person or a snake? Ibai opened his mouth and uttered human words. His predecessor was already human, so it's not difficult for him to speak human language. Especially after becoming sperm, it has become even easier for him. For monsters, if they want to speak out, the first step is to become refined. After becoming refined, they can refine their bones and speak, but this also requires learning. Ibai can save the step of learning. Ah! The 3 of them were immediately dumbfounded, their eyes filled with fear. They are not stupid. Before the arrival of the Red Moon, their world was a very normal one. How could they not have heard of the story of seeking titles? Seeking titles often happens to weasels who have achieved success in cultivation. It is said that a successful weasel in cultivation will seek a seal from someone. At this time, if it looks like a human, it will become an immortal, but your luck and lifespan will be compromised, which is the price of helping it cultivate. But if it is like a weasel, then the cultivation of the weasel will be compromised. This is a never-ending thing, and the weasel will definitely retaliate against you. These 3 people looked at the green snake blocking in front of them, feeling that their souls were rising. This answer is also dead. Not answering is also death. The 3 of them became submissive. Upon seeing the 3 people who were frightened into such a state, Ibai was immediately overjoyed, as if it had already satisfied his evil taste. He just wanted to scare these 3 people. There is no intention of killing these 3 people at all. Ibai is now satisfied with his bad taste and has no intention of staying any longer. He had a sudden thought and was ready to return to the cultivation world. The best place for digestion is the deep pool in the cultivation world. Ibai's entire huge snake body was only dazed for a moment before disappearing into place. The 3 people standing in the same place saw Ibai suddenly disappear and became frightened. They looked left and right but couldn't find Ibai the cultivation world. In the deep pool. Ibai has returned here again. As soon as he returned here, he felt a heavy weight on his head, as if something was pressing down on him. It's really uncomfortable. Shi Daredeng is too ruthless. I knew when I was still a human, I didn't pee on it anymore. Now that I'm better, I turned into a monster and was avenged by Shi Daredeng. Wait, what seems to be wrong? Bai felt something clearly. He lifted his head and looked over at the water surface. There is still a golden light coming. But he just felt that something was different. It seems that this stone dares to suppress him and has become much lighter. Why is this? Bai doesn't understand. Chapter 8. Merit and Virtue. You are listening at novelfull.audio. At the bottom of a deep pool. After feeling that Shi dared to lower his suppression, Bai became puzzled. In his confusion, he couldn't even digest the monster in time. He directly found his old friend and mentor, the prophet Lord Lao Gui, and sought an answer. But when Bai found the old turtle at the bottom of the pond, he was stunned. At this moment, the entire body of the old turtle has shrunk into its shell, with only one shell outside, drifting with the water flow. This turtle shell fell into a pile of stones, and for a while, it was hard to see. Bai was able to recognize this as an old turtle, or was it because he had been with this big turtle for a long time before he could find it? This old turtle has a lot of skills. After retracting his shell, even his demonic aura disappeared. Bai muttered to himself. His movements are not slow. The whole body twisted a few times before coming to the side of the turtle shell. He looked at the turtle shell in front of him. After thinking for a moment, he lightly tapped the turtle shell with his tail. Old turtle, it's my old cobra. Bai's huge cobra head looked down at the turtle shell in front of him. His voice fell. After a long time. The turtle shell only then had movement. I saw a head sneaking out of the turtle shell. What are you doing here when you're free, Wang Hui? The old turtle asked. It just said one sentence. Suddenly, it felt as if it had felt something, and a painful expression appeared on the turtle's face. Bai could tell at a glance that the old turtle was being suppressed by Shi Daredeng in great pain. Prophet, since you have been suppressed in so much pain by Shi Daredeng, why don't you choose to leave this pool? Bai is a bit puzzled. He stayed in this deep pool, talking big or small. Since you feel uncomfortable, why don't you choose to leave? Leaving. Leaving for what? With that stone above, I dare to press it down. This pond is undoubtedly the safest place, and no other place is safer here. Yuan Hui, just tell me what's going on. I'll hide my head, and I won't feel this pressure anymore. The old turtle said speechlessly. Bai. Is there such a statement? It seems like this is really the case. There is a stone that dares to take control. This deep pool is a forbidden place for demons, and for humans, there is no need to come to this deep pool in the deep mountains and forests. It seems that this place is really the safest. Bai shook his head and put these ideas behind him. He looked back at the old turtle and asked his question again. What? You said you suddenly feel that this divine stone suppression on you has weakened a lot. The old turtle looked surprised. Yes, that's it. Bai nodded heavily on his head. This is impossible, this is absolutely impossible. Even if Shi dare not eliminate the demon, how could he weaken his suppression on you? Even the old turtle couldn't believe it. But after thinking for a moment, it seemed to have thought of something. It gave Bai a strange look, lowered its voice, and said, if I say that Shi dare to be such a divine object, it will weaken the suppression of you. Unless you have done something helpful to the world, and with merit, the divine artifact Shi Daredeng will lower your suppression. Upon hearing these words, Bai was stunned for a moment, then lifted his cobra head to conceal the emotions in his pupils. Merit. What merits does he have? He just went to the Red Moon world once. Is it something that happened in the Red Moon world that made him meritorious? That's why Shi Daredeng's suppression of him has decreased. Did you kill those monsters? Or did it indirectly help humanity? Ebo only knows that he has done these two things. So, what exactly made Shi dare to change him? The old turtle looked at Ebi and seemed to have thought of something, but it didn't say anything. It paused and continued to speak, saying, Wang Hui, please listen to me again. Don't leave this deep pool in the near future. Don't leave. It's very dangerous outside. Ebi regained his senses and lowered his head to look at the old turtle who had been teaching him all along, with a puzzled expression in his eyes. Prophet, are you referring to the incident with the mountain lord? Ebo patiently asked. Not bad, what Shan Jun did was so bad that it attracted the attention of the human side's Imperial Academy. I'm afraid this matter will be difficult to do well. The old turtle said deeply. Bad. Isn't Shan Jun just eating people and monsters? Has Shan Jun done anything else? Ebo became curious. Yuan Hui, why are you asking so many questions? Tell you not to go out, just listen. The old turtle seems to be a bit annoyed too. It directly tucked its head into the turtle shell, intending to continue pretending to be dead. Old turtle, don't go back so quickly. Tell me again how to evaluate merit. Ebi quickly inquired. But the turtle shell in front of him remained motionless, without any sound. It seems that the old turtle has entered a deep sleep state. Ebi was disappointed and was planning to leave. A sound sounded leisurely from within the turtle shell. Merit cannot be seen unless your merit is strong enough to manifest. This is the voice of an old turtle. Upon hearing this, Ebi finally understood. He turned his head and glanced at the turtle shell, then disappeared into place like an arrow leaving a string. Ebi found an incomplete piece of ground in the bottom of the pond and continued his friction. He needs to digest those monsters in his abdomen, rubbing his abdomen can help him digest. Ebo was engrossed in digesting the monster in his belly. Time passes by bit. Unconsciously. Another day has passed. The next night, Ebo finally finished his digestion. When he woke up, he only felt a refreshing sensation, with a feeling of inexhaustible strength in his body. Ebo lowered his head and glanced at his abdomen. After digesting these monsters this time, the generated qi did not flow to his head as before, but instead gathered in his abdomen. I seem to be able to mobilize these energies. Ebo is curious. He stared at his abdomen, trying to control these qi with his own mind. He controlled these qi for the first time, but it seemed as if he was naturally able to control them and was very skilled. Boom! Ebi released these gases from his mouth. These energies suddenly turned into dozens of sharp swords, piercing through the water and hitting the distant ground, causing a slight vibration on the ground. Sleeping trough, so fierce. Ebi was shocked. He had no idea what technique it was just a random mobilization of the abdominal qi. Wait a minute. Ebi suddenly noticed his abdomen rising. He exhaled all this anger, wouldn't he have eaten the monster for free this time? Ebi observed for a while before finally feeling relieved. The air in his abdomen seemed to belong to consumables, but not disposable. These qi will recover over time. Chapter 9. Hunting the Mountain God. You are listening at novelfull.audio. At the bottom of a deep pool. At night. Ebi pondered over the qi in his abdomen, and after studying it for a long time, he didn't understand what kind of qi it was. I only know that it was only after he digested the monster and became stronger that it appeared. Ebi didn't know the name of this qi, so he named it Yaoli. Shortly after Ebi gained his demonic power, he suddenly heard movements coming from outside the pond. Boom boom. Thunder echoed incessantly outside the pond, as if a heavy rain was about to fall. What's going on outside? Thunder. There seems to be an unusual feeling. Ebi lifted his head and looked out of the deep pool, where the murky water flow seemed unable to stop his gaze. He could see that the weather outside changed as he spoke, with a large black cloud enveloping the entire area. Yi-Bai looked at the dark clouds, and he always felt something was wrong. It's not him who's not right. But this dark cloud. He looked at the dark clouds with a strong sense of oppression. Behind this sense of oppression, there was also a faint tingling sensation, as if his instinct was afraid of this dark cloud. Yi-Bai felt this way for the first time. After much thought, he decided to leave the pond and observe it closer. Yi-Bai does whatever he says. He twisted his body and quickly headed towards the pond. Soon, Yi-Bai arrived at the surface of the pond. As he passed by, he immediately saw the stone standing on the shore in the darkness, like a big sun. Of course, the light that this stone dares to emit can only be seen by demons. For ordinary people, this stone is undoubtedly no different from ordinary stones. However, Yi-Bai's uncomfortable posture was much better than last time. It seems that Shi Daredeng's suppression of him has really decreased a lot. Even if he approaches, it has not increased much. This actually brightened Yi-Bai's pupils. Saving humans or killing monsters, one of them can earn merit. Merit, this elusive thing, is of great use in the cultivation world. For humans, there are still many divine objects like Shi Daredeng. If I have enough merit to ignore these divine objects, then in the future, if I encounter humans, I may also be surprised. Yi-Bai almost instantly thought of the scene where he could be fearless of these divine objects in the future. Let's get to the point. Yi-Bai shifted his gaze from Shi Daredeng and lifted his cobra head to look at the sky. Boom boom. At this moment, amidst the vast expanse of dark clouds, thunder flickered, electric snakes rolled, and a terrifying smell filled the air. And the center of this thunderous rolling is the central area of the mountains. The deep pool where Yi-Bai is located belongs to the edge of the mountain, so one can only overlook it from a distance. He looked at the other side of the mountain and had a vague guess in his heart. This dark cloud, this lightning, it's unusual. Thunder and lightning, daring stones, humans, mountains. These pieces of information, it seems that everything vaguely points towards the Mountain Lord. Will transformation lead to thunder calamity? Yi-Bai looked at the dark clouds in the sky, lost in thought. He knew that the great demon Mountain Lord was at the extreme of the demon pill and was about to transform. It is because the Mountain Lord is about to transform that humans send people to set up stones on various roads down the mountain. Looking at these dark clouds in front of him again, these thunder and lightning are probably the transformation thunder calamity of the Mountain Lord. So, will this Mountain Lord ultimately succeed? Yi-Bai became curious about this. According to the old turtle, this Mountain Lord may not succeed. But in reality, it's hard to say exactly what the Mountain Lord will do. In the end, it was a failure. This Mountain Lord is too fierce. He not only eats people, but also monsters. Yi-Bai shook his head. He didn't want a fierce demon to appear next to him. He looked at the sky full of dark clouds for a long time. Immediately, he was ready to return to the bottom of the pond. Before Yi-Bai could return, suddenly he seemed to have seen something, and the newly moving body of the snake stopped. He looked towards the road leading to the mountain. In that direction, he could clearly see two very eerie figures flying down quickly. This figure is humanoid, slightly blurred. But without legs. All by floating. This is a ghost. Yi-Bai quickly realized that these were the ghosts of the Mountain Lord. He glanced at these two ghosts. In his eyes, these two ghosts emitted a faint purple aura. Yi-Bai began to ponder. Is that so? The demonic aura is black. Popularity is white. Monster aura turns into ash. The ghostly aura turns purple. Yi-Bai remembered these breaths. The colors of these chi are the way he will distinguish between other beings when he sees them in the future. However, on the other hand, what are these two ghosts doing here? The Mountain Lord is now shrouded in layers of crisis. How could he still have the intention to send a ghost down the mountain? Bai doesn't understand. He turned his head to watch the movements of those two ghosts. He is not afraid of these two ghosts at all. With his current strength, these two ghosts are too weak for him. In the distance, those two ghosts drifted all the way and soon arrived at the foot of the mountain. But the two ghosts have just arrived at the foot of the mountain. The stone standing by the edge of the pond suddenly emitted a scorching light. The ghost floating in front was illuminated by light, let out a scream, and disappeared into a few wisps of white smoke. This scene made Bai's scalp tingle. This can be considered a complete loss of soul. This stone is worthy. It's the real culprit. Bai raised his head and looked at the intersection at the foot of the mountain. The only remaining ghost dared not make any further movements. He was quite curious about why the ghost came down the mountain. He thought, should we go over and ask the ghost why he went down the mountain? Bo is still thinking about it. The ghost at the intersection at the foot of the mountain suddenly bowed to him, and the etiquette was very strange, like a refined scholar bowing. Bo became even more curious now. He pondered for a while, and finally decided to go down the mountain to meet the ghost and see what the ghost wanted to say. Bai twisted his body and left the pond. His huge body ran over the grass and stones, leaving a trail of snakes passing by. In no time, Bai arrived at the foot of the mountain and saw the ghost. After seeing Bai's arrival, the ghost bowed again and mechanically said, "On the order of the Mountain Lord, please gather the demons from all directions in Dayan Mountain to hunt the mountain god of Dayan Mountain." Mount Dayan. Is it the big mountain in front of him? Bai quickly understood, but in a daze, his erect pupils flashed a deep shock. Wait a minute. What is this ghost talking about? Shanjun invites the demons from all directions to gather at Mount Dayan and hunt for the mountain god of Mount Dayan. Mountain god. Does this thing exist? It seems that for the cultivation world, the existence of mountain gods is not surprising at all. On the one hand, Bai was shocked by the existence of the mountain god, and on the other hand, he was also shocked by the ambition of the mountain lord. Hunting the mountain god, this is not something that ordinary demons dare to do. Chapter 10. Running Away. You are listening at novelfull.audio. At the bottom of a deep pool. Bai, who had already returned, couldn't help but feel shocked when he recalled what he had discussed with the ghost at the mountain pass 3 or 4 hours ago. In mythology, mountains have mountain gods and rivers have river gods. And the mountain god is the deity in charge of a region's mountains and rivers. According to legend, he has the ability to regulate the weather, eliminate disasters and extend blessings and blessings. Undoubtedly, the mountain god holds an absolutely important position in mythology. However, the ability of mountain gods also depends on the size of the mountains, such as those of the 5 sacred mountains, which are definitely extraordinary. But if you point to a small earthen slope and say it's a mountain, the mountain god that comes out will definitely be different. However, the scale of Mount Dayan is not small. The mountain god is definitely not weak. This mountain lord is really be bold and fearless. Surprisingly, he is preparing to hunt the mountain god. Bo also easily figured everything out. I'm afraid the mountain lord has been driven by humans, but he still needs some time to truly transform. So I was in a hurry and actually planned to have someone take action against the mountain god. No wonder the old turtle would say, what the mountain lord has done is too bad and difficult to do well. It turns out that's what he meant. No, how could the old turtle know so much? Bai was suddenly surprised to discover. This old turtle, his good friend, doesn't seem as simple as it seems on the surface. I really have some skills in hand. However, Bo didn't care either. He knew that if the old turtle wanted to harm him, it would have hurt him long ago. Moreover, Lao Gui is too meticulous and takes his life too seriously. He is even more willing to sacrifice his life. Forget it, whether it's the mountain lord or the mountain god, it has nothing to do with me. I will never go into danger. Bo is still very clear about his positioning. His most important thing now is to improve his own strength. Bai thought like this. Boom boom. The thunder outside the pond still echoed incessantly, and it was unclear whether it was the transformation of the Mountain Lord's thunder calamity or the human means of dealing with the Mountain Lord. Amidst the thunderous sounds, Bai fell asleep unconsciously. He has been shuttling between two realms, which is also a consumption of his mental energy. He, who was in a state of fullness, accidentally fell asleep. In his dream, he dreamed of becoming a dragon in the future and eventually opened a large dragon palace, raising many female dragons and becoming a famous demon. But just as he became a demon and was planning to cultivate the next generation of dragons, a tiger's mouth suddenly appeared in front of him, ready to eat him. This frightened Bo and he suddenly woke up. After waking up, Bai looked around and realized it was a dream. Not right. There seems to be something wrong. Bai looked up. At some point, a jade stone appeared in front of him. The shape of the jade is very unique, it is in the shape of a tiger. The jade sinks into the bottom of the pond and is out of place with the surrounding black stones. Bai curiously swam forward, wanting to observe the jade up close. While after Bai approached, the jade turned into a ray of light as if it had been stimulated and rushed towards Bai. Bai didn't react at all. When he did, he saw an additional totem on a blue scale on his abdomen, which was in the shape of a tiger. He was deeply puzzled by this. After a series of attempts to mobilize, Bai, who still couldn't get any results, had to give up and choose to treat it as if he hadn't seen it. He has no other choice but to pretend he didn't see it. Bo is planning to go to the Red Moon world for a stroll. Suddenly, he saw a swimming figure beside the bottom of the pond. This is not the old turtle. Prophet, wait, where are you going? Bai intercepted the old turtle whose limbs turned into propellers. Where are we going? That must be running away. The old turtle said helplessly. Run away. Why run away? Didn't you say before that this pond is the safest? Bai is puzzled. What is the safest thing? When I said this, it was already 3 days ago. Do you have no idea what happened during these 3 days? The old turtle looked at Bai in surprise. 3 days. Bai was greatly surprised. He never expected that 3 days had already passed. Didn't he just take a nap? Suddenly, he felt like he had traveled through time. It's like looking at the alarm clock, it's 6:50 and thinking you can sleep for a little longer. In the blink of an eye, it was already 12 o'clock, and in the end, all I could do was scream, time has passed. Bo knew very well that he had been sleeping for 3 days and immediately asked Old Turtle for advice on what had happened during these 3 days. The Old Turtle didn't have any intention of concealing anything. He sighed deeply and said, Wang Hui, in the past 3 days, something big has happened on the side of Mount Dayan. The Mountain Lord didn't know where he brought in a bunch of monsters, but actually hunted down the Mountain God. The Mountain God of Mount Dayan has disappeared. Upon hearing these words, Bai's heart stirred up a storm. He didn't expect that the Mountain Lord really succeeded in killing the Mountain God of Dayan Mountain. This is too incredible, isn't it? How strong is this Mountain Lord? No, Prophet, even if the Mountain Lord kills the Mountain God, why do you have to run away? Bai couldn't understand the inquiry. You, Wang Hui, call yourself stupid. You don't seem foolish either. Call yourself intelligent. Sometimes you seem very foolish. The Mountain God of Dayan Mountain was personally conferred by the Emperor of the dynasty, and a monster killed the Mountain God. That's not to slap the Emperor's face. It's estimated that many people from the Imperial Academy will come to deal with the Mountain Lord later. If we don't leave, we'll be washed away like the ground. It's not fun to wash it off. The old turtle shook its head and sighed, saying, So, has the Mountain Lord successfully transformed? Bo is curious. Is there any transformation? How do I know? The old turtle said speechlessly. After it finished speaking, it advised Bai to leave quickly. Immediately, it also swam rapidly towards the direction outside the pond. Bai hesitated as he watched the old turtle leave. The old turtle has run away. I can't stay in this deep pool. According to the old turtle, if you continue to stay, those so-called Kintiangian humans will wash him off like dirt. That would not be worth the loss. But where can he go without leaving the deep pool? For a moment, Bai felt a bit confused. He has been active in the deep pool area since crossing over. He couldn't even find a suitable place to leave. Where should we go? Where do you come from? Go back. Go back to the human side. Bo felt trembling when he thought about it. If he really appears openly in front of humanity, he may not be able to survive even 10 lives. No. Although I don't know where to go, I must move my nest. This nest can't stay any longer. Bo quickly made up his mind. I don't know where to go, so walk in the opposite direction of Mount Dayan and you will always find a suitable place.